from Dragonfly Source, she started talking about process knitting and project knitting. And so we thought we'd discuss a little process versus project, maybe knitting versus crochet.
Yeah, because I was also reading a thread on the Anthropology group on Ravelry, which is fun. I've been on there, so I think Sheila recommended it to me a long time ago.
I started it, and then it just became, why Wilma is good and why it's not, so I got off
I like it. They bring up general issues about knitting, and they started out, somebody said that there are more, a study happened, and I put it in my show notes, actually. It was done by the Craft and Hobby Association, and it's on their blog, craftandhobby.wordpress.com, and it showed that both sales-wise and household participation-wise, there are more crocheters than knitters. And it got started on the group. There were people that could not believe that. It can't possibly be true. And then I do too. It kind of devolved into a knitters versus crocheters thing, which is really weird for me because I do both, and I think I like them both.
They have their purpose.
And then they started talking about why people were knitting, and I don't know. It was a really interesting read. If you can go to the thread, it's on the Anthropology group, and it's.
I'll link the group.
Yeah, I put it in the show notes so Sheila can link it, and but it also kind of got into a thing about why people crochet certain things and why they knit certain things, and Sheila and I were talking about that with the whole process and project thing. So we thought we'd tell you what we're like, and Sheila will start.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I was reading the definition of a project knitter and a process knitter, and I'm a little of both. I'm a project knitter because, yes, when I'm done with a project, I am so excited about it. Look what I made. Look, the heel. It looks like a heel. I'm so excited. But the process knitter in me is I like to do new techniques, and once I'm done with that technique, I'm like, yeah, did that, been there. But I don't tend to keep my stuff. So that's where I think I'm more of the process knitter. I don't keep a lot of the stuff I knit.
You love the knitting, but you don't need to have the
I don't need to have the project. The only things I tend to keep are socks, just because my feet are cold all the time. I wear my wool socks year round. Probably not in shoes, but definitely around the house.
She has a cold floor.
I have cold feet. But besides the point.
Me too.
I just, I have a lot of stuff and I'm looking around. Again, I haven't been knitting very long. 6 years, yes, it's long, but it's not my whole lifetime. Nobody was a knitter when I grew up. My aunt was a crocheter and she made just the typical baby blankets on occasion. So I didn't grow up wearing knitted things. So we have tons of blankets. I don't need to knit myself a blanket. We have tons of blankets already. We have a couple of blankets that my kids made that my husband has cut a hole in it so that we wear as ponchos around the house in the wintertime. So I don't need to make like a sweater for myself. The shawls that I make, yeah, they're nice. I end up giving them away. I put them in a bin and I'll go through it saying, oh, this will be good for this person. This will be good for that person. So I'm more of a process knitter in the sense that I give my stuff away, but I do love showing off my projects. I call myself.
I would say you're mostly a process knitter though, because you knit for the love of knitting, and once you're done with that project, you don't need to keep that item. You're proud of it, but you don't need it to keep it.
Right.
Your ultimate goal in knitting is not to have the finished object. Because you don't care what happens to the finished object.
No, I really don't. I mean,
your goal is really just because you enjoy the knitting and.
Not to say that I don't care, because I do care, but it's not. I don't need to keep it.
Right. It doesn't have to stay with you. You're not. Your goal is not to like. I'm the opposite of Sheila. I only knit things that I want. Occasionally, I knit as a gift. I do gift knitting. I knit every Christmas gift like 3 years ago, and boy, that was living hell. But I did it, and of course, I only knit projects that I would have knit anyway. But then I gave them to the people I knew when I picked out the projects who they would be appropriate for. So I consider myself more of a project knitter because I primarily knit for myself, and I do like the traveling sweater. I am knitting that because I want that sweater.
Right.
I'm not knitting it because I love knitting and because I want to do the weird origami thing, although that is what intrigued me about the pattern. Ultimately, I want the garment. Socks the same way. I have to find a pattern that I enjoy doing, but ultimately I'm knitting it because I want a pair of socks. So I'm kind of the opposite of Sheila. I do give away my knitting. I just gave my aunt who's in the hospital my Renaissance shawl that I knit out of String Theory cashmere base.
Oh yeah.
Because I wanted to give her a shawl, and it really wasn't a shawl that I loved the shawl and I needed to knit it, but it really wasn't. It never really seemed like it was for me. It's not one that I would wear myself, and I knew she would really like to wear it, and it would keep her warm. So, but that's unusual. Usually,
Yeah.
if I like a pattern, it's because I want it.
Yeah, and when I like a pattern, I'm like, oh, I want to do it. Yeah, I guess I am a process knitter because I'm like, oh, I want to do that. That looks fun and interesting.
That's cool. Yeah.
I'm done with it. I'm like, great. What do I do with it now?
I don't need it. So
Yeah, hence probably why I do a lot of teacher gifts too. I'll do a lot of knitting for teachers, because it's cheap. I have the stuff already, and to give away.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the year that I did knit everybody gifts was the least I have ever spent on Christmas at Christmas time, because I did it starting in January. I knit what I could from my stash. And so the cost of all the presents was spread out. It was awesome. My husband was like, we spent nothing. And I said, yeah, but I had to knit. And that was also...
You spent a lot of time.
That was also my unhappiest year as a knitter, because...
That's the first year I met you, too.
Yes, it was. And do you remember how miserable? I don't like knitting for other people. Yeah. I don't like knitting for other people as much as I like knitting for myself or for somebody. Like, I love knitting for my mother because I know that she'll love it.
And that comes into another thing, knitting for people who may or may not appreciate the knitted gifts. I've been working at my job overnights for close to 5 years. I've knit them at least 3 things for the holiday season. And I've never seen them wear them, but it's, I don't see them. I'm by myself when I work at night, so I don't actually see them, so I don't know if they wear them. But it makes you kind of wonder, do they appreciate it? I've knit a couple of things for a friend of mine online, sent them, and I never got a thank you because she is a materialistic type of person. It's all about the money that's spent. She's got money to spend. I don't. So I knit her a beautiful baby blanket for her son because she, had a hard time having babies. And I barely got a thank you out of it. Now, I knit for someone else on that same group and got, oh my gosh, look at what you did. So you tend to know real quickly who to knit for.
I tend to usually only knit for knitters or for the children of knitters because they understand that, it's not just a $25 skein of yarn, it's hours and hours and hours of your time. Right. And that it's kind of like you knit your love into it. And,
you do. And
it becomes an heirloom. And I will do that kind of, I love knitting for babies. I knit a ton for my new niece, Keely, the fattest baby ever. She's really cute. She is my mom, and I think she's the fattest baby ever. Like baby fat baby, not weird.
A good
fat.
baby.
Good fat baby. She's very cute.
That's cute.
But when I did the year of knitting, I highly doubt that some of those people actually used or appreciated what I made.
That's too bad.
And I just didn't feel like they did, and I decided that for me, life is too short to waste my knitting time on something that somebody's not going to use. Mm-hmm. Everything that I knit for myself, I use.
Yeah.
Every shawl that I knit, I wear.
Yeah.
Except for the one that I gave my aunt, which I just really wanted to knit. That's like the one time I had to knit the pattern.
You were a process knitter.
But I was a process knitter on that, but I didn't really want to... I couldn't find a good way to wear that shawl. It just didn't work in my life.
Yeah, see, and I'm the one, I just done the worst. I didn't finish it. I'm like, yeah.
All right,
I
love the process of knitting a sweater. I'm a huge sweater knitter. I've always been a sweater knitter. That's my object of choice. I love going out in the cold and wearing my sweater and having people, oh, that's a cute sweater. And I think in my head, I knit that. yeah, darn right it's cute.
I know, you would think I would knit more stuff for me because you know me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm an attention whore when it comes to that.
I think we can safely say that we are both attention whores at this point.
We're on a video cast.
We are filming ourselves on the internet. So yeah, that's who we are when it comes to knitting. Oh, and I forgot to show you guys something. My mom. I'm diming you out to the knitting world, Mom. We have a joke. I want to get a knitting machine, and this is a shout out. If anyone has a knitting machine that they want to sell me, PM me on Ravelry because I want a sock machine. I'm sorry, not a regular knitting machine. A sock knitting machine.
Didn't Diane get one?
Yes. I know.
To have more play dates
And she's
with
learning
Diane.
how to use it now, so she still has trouble with it. But I want one too because I have so much sock yarn and not enough sock knitting mojo. So anyway, somebody was joking that my mother is my sock machine because she knits almost exclusively toe-up vanilla socks. That's what she does to relax.
She knit me a pair.
She knit Sheila a pair. And so I bought my mom some yarn when we went up to Webb's, and she started knitting with it, and she didn't like how it was striping.
Very thick stripes, but very pretty.
I know, it's weird for sock yarn to have those fat stripes, but she made me a sock. But I want to show you something. This is how all of the socks that she makes come to me. Do you see that? Because I'm going to tell you a secret, internet people. My mother does not like to weave in the end.
When she knit my pair of socks, now I gave her the yarn to knit them. I got them that way too. I don't think she even weaved in the ends for me.
Bring socks to me when she comes so I can weave the ends in. And she also would bring things before she was in her sock knitting thing. Like she was in a stuffed animal mojo thing where I had to sew everything together. My mother doesn't like to make up or finish. She just likes to knit. That is a process knitter. My mother is a process knitter.
No, project knitter. She just wants to knit the project.
She just wants to knit.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to deal with. I
It's
think
just-
it's a process
You
knitter.
think so? I don't know.
I don't know. We're having a big argument about it now. Anyway, I'm diming you out, Mom. So I haven't woven the ends in yet because I wanted to show you that. That's what I have to deal with. But I have like
A ton of
40
socks.
pairs of socks from my mom.
I need to give your mom some more of my sock yarn to knit for me.
She will totally knit you socks. She probably would knit people out in the internet land.
No,
socks.
no, because we want it for us.
Oh yeah. No, my mother would never knit you socks. She's always raiding my stash. So anyway, yeah.
I think on that note, I think we went
we've gone way over
time with the
We are
breaks.
sorry that we talk so much.
And we're sorry that we had so many interruptions. So